Oh man, I said I was a jungle specialist, not an urban jungle specialist. The Joes just can't drop you into anything. You'll get used to it. You're a survivalist. Where did you come from? I find my way around. Speaking of around, you seen some of the bugs around here? They're gigantic. Yeah, and they're full of protein. It's good to eat.
Yo, Joe!
Hello, toy fans. I'm here with another one of our exciting toy openings. I had been talking to J.K. Collects, another toy person, and he had done this review of Recondo from the G.I.Joe Classified Tiger Force, and I didn't not even realize at first that they had made a Recondo. Happened to hit up my local Target, and lo and behold, I did find not only Recondo, but of course a Duke with the Tiger Force Ram cycle, which I hope to eventually go back and get, and even some of the Python Patrol. I found the Python Patrol Officer, which I'd also like to add in the collection. But since I had Outback in Tiger Force, I said, you know what? He really does need a mate to run around with. He needs a Recondo. Someone who's good in surveillance and has an excellent mustache to go along with that incredible beard that Outback has. And lo and behold, I found a Recondo. Now this of course is Recondo in the Tiger Force. We get the Tiger Force sticker here. We know it's a part of the G.I.Joe Classified series, and then we get Recondo there at the bottom. We got a nice comic style art piece over here of Recondo looking out onto the plains, getting ready to get some jungle action, because much like Jesse Ventura and Predator, I would think that he would say that was some mean bush. Over on this side, of course, we get an artwork here. We get Recondo looking up. We get the one of the Dragonfly helicopter, and then we get to see the jungle and Recondo down there with his gun, which is an excellent piece of art. On the back, we get, of course, this kind of generic back here showing the, I guess, like the surveillance areas of all the things they're looking at in the jungle. Of course, Tiger Force, I believe all the backings are like this. And then over on the side, we get these. Now, I had to look these up. So these are different classes. You've got, this is a third class. This is a second class, and this is a fourth level. So we got fourth level Jungle Survivalist, second class here, Light Marksman or Light Infantry, second Marksman Recon, and then you've got a third class, and I'm trying to remember, that is a second class Environmental Specialist. So we see that he's a second class or third class Environmental Specialist, Light Infantry, Recon, and then of course the most levels that he has, fourth level, or the, I guess like the highest level here, is going to be Jungle Survivalist. Now of course Recondo comes in this nice window package. We get some Tiger Force stuff in the back. You can kind of see it behind him. I like these because I like being able to see the figures that we want to get. Now that they're starting to do closed boxes, it's a little bit harder to do. With this, I like it because I was able to choose through, like, I think 3 or 4 Recondos on which one I wanted based off of the paint app. And so I was able to get a really good one, which is why I like those window boxes. Now that's all I got to say about the window box aspect of them. There's really nothing else we're going to learn about this figure until we get out a package. So we need to get this one out and get to battling. And this, of course, is our G.I.Joe codename Recondo out of package, along with all of his accoutrements or accessories, as you might call it. And there's some really good things here. There's a few concerns here and there, but for the most part, I feel like this is a pretty solid action figure. Now, I know with the Outback I had, and it's one of those things that I was thinking about replacing my Outback just to look, because I noticed the pins in his legs were really tough to move the legs. Whereas Recondo, it feels like his pin work on his legs are nice and clean. He has a lot of really good movement about him. So let's break down what he has first, and then we'll start looking at the articulation. So with him, he does have his nap pack. So he's got, of course, his backpack here, and it's a solid green with a nice paint for the roll up here that's attached to the top. It's got really good texture. It's not as heavily textured as Outback's, but it does feel like kind of E-web style material here. And it's got good buckles. You got, it looks like a map holder up here. You've got belts up here. You've got the canteen and extra pockets. It's a really nice backpack. It looks good. With that, he also has his machete. And it's got, you know, some nice details in on the grip and everything. It's really hard to see, but it's all black, and then it has a nice silver paint app for the blade, which is really, really good. Has a bit of a groove along the back for your saw groove, which is really cool. And then nice turn beveled edges for the blade. He also comes with this little pistol. And I mean, this is kind of a, I can't tell what caliber that is. I want to say it's supposed to be like maybe a 9. It's hard to tell. But it's an automatic pistol. And with this, it does have a hole. So you have a hole for blast effects if you have some blast effects to put in there. Which is pretty cool. I know if you get the Viper 3-pack, there's blast effects in there. Might be one reason for me to get a Viper 3-pack. He also comes with his rifle, and what I like about the rifle is it's turned a little bit, much like Outback's, but it's not too bad. And it's molded in a black plastic. You also have paint apps here for the wraps along the handle here and along the barrel. There's one more wrap on the stock, but it has not been painted. I really feel like that should have been painted. Much like Outback's, the magazine does leave the well here. And it does have a sculpted bullet on top. It's really hard to see because these things are small. My camera doesn't get that close. But it is a nice gun with lots of good technical texture in there. Last but not least, we do have his hat. And it is turned up on one side. It is molded that way, so it's one of those you can't like pop it down. It's just the way it is. There is some sculpting in here that makes it fit his head a certain way, so he has his buckled side always to his left. And there's some really good paint app where you've got some nice subtle. This is kind of almost like a deep set, almost black navy, and then you've got some nice olive drabs here along the buckle work or on the outside of the hat, which is super, super nice. Looks good. Now, as far as Recondo, we do have, with Recondo, all the articulation. Now, pieces that he has with him, he has a sheath set over here for his knife, along with all these pockets here, which is pretty cool. You do have this rubberized piece here, his holster, that comes and wraps over, and it's almost like almost a 4-point holster here. And then you've got this belt piece that sits along his waist. Now, he does have the sculpted belt and stuff here. However, this sits along his waist, and it almost acts like as the bottom of his shirt. It can pull up, but you kind of want it to rest if you can, right about there, which is looking good. And there's some paint app here where you've got, you know, pockets. You've got his compass here, and it's got a lot of really good detail along with his watch and everything. Now with that, you do have that ball jointed head. You have a little bit of that jointed neck here, but it's not too much. You do have the butterfly joints up at the front, along with the ball and shoulders. It's got a really good range of movement. Do have those swivel biceps. Now, my elbows here, they're double hinged, but mine were really, really tight, so I had to work those in. Along with that, you have the swivel hands. Now, this hand, instead of having the cut where it turns inward, this is set as a pistol hand, and I don't have a lot of really heavy range of movement in this hand. It's very subtle and how his wrists turn right there. On the other arm, same thing, butterfly, ball hinged, a swivel up here, the double hinged elbows, which is always nice, and they're the pinless ones. And then you have the same here where you have that kind of gun hand where it cocks forward. It doesn't turn in, it actually cocks forward. And it's still, this one also feels like it doesn't have like a lot of range in it, which it might not need too much. You do have that kind of, it's a very tight kind of ball socketed waist here, but we do have it. Along with that torso crunch, you can go back that far, you can go forward that far. So if you wanted to sit him in something or have him get kicked, oh, you could do that. And then of course you got that ball joint here in the hip. Now this one turns really well. And I don't know if that's just my Recondo. I know my Outback has a hard time. I'm worried about breaking the pins, but it does do it. And then of course it also has that pin thing that allows the movement here. You do have the swivel thighs along with the double hinge knees, which are super tight on mine. The boot turn along with the ankle rockers, which are fairly tight, and then that foot turn as well. And the same thing repeated on the other side. Now I know this knee over here was super tight, and that might be something that seems to be an issue with Recondo. I'm not quite sure. And the same with the ankle rocker on this side. It's really nice because like the way that they got the boot set, it's brown, and then you got the nice spats on it that kind of color coordinate with everything here. Belt color here coordinates with the lighter brown, reddish brown of the boots, but then everything else from the spats coordinate with these colors up here, which is a nice, I mean, it looks like a very, very well thought out paint job. You've got the nice green, subtle green on the watch band with the silvers. You got the kind of subtle yellow orange here for the tiger stripes and the camo. It's a good looking figure. Now, of course, for him, you get his hat on because he wouldn't feel like Recondo without his hat. We get, of course, his pistol here. It goes into his 4-point chest harness. We do have that machete style knife. Goes over here in the holster, and they've actually cut the holster here where it allow for that blade to go in, just like that. Pretty cool. Then of course we have a trigger finger on both fingers. So with this one, I found what I felt like I had to do was put his trigger finger in the well and then put his gun in. It didn't seem like something that just wanted to sit naturally at first. And then of course we got his backpack that fits on, and the pack on this is nice. Like it doesn't, I haven't had this one fall off. One of the problems I had was Artan and Outback, both of them, is that the pegs either don't feel like they're long enough or they don't feel like they're thick enough for, I guess, for the backpack to feel like it stays a lot. And this, of course, is Recondo stacked up against a couple other figures. We do have him up against Outback in the Classified line. And one thing to keep in mind is if you remove the hat, he is just a touch bit shorter. His hat will not work on Outback. That's so sad. I like that beard, I like that hat. However, you can also see him against the Masterverse New Eternia Zodak. These guys would be, again, in theory, massive. So it's almost like you could scale all these figures together. And I have to admit, having him right here with Outback, these are a good looking pair of survivalists. And of course, having him stacked up against a few other figures out of the collection, we got him against the Halloween edition Wookiee here, which obviously Wookiees tower everyone, so we can see that they're kind of in scale with one another. You've got, of course, Recondo. You've got Siona here, so he does go a little bit taller than Siona, so it does work with the Fortnite figures. And it also works quite well with Jonesy from the Jazzwares. Let's take a look at these two side by side, because they are almost, oh goodness. Let's try that again. They are not exactly the same height, but they are close to height. And so I would say that these would match well, of course, with the Jazzwares 6-inch action figure line of Fortnite figures. Alright, so I will admit that there are a few things about this figure that I'm kind of iffy about, but overall I feel like this is an incredible action figure. I feel like it has really hit the marks as far as good articulation, as far as good accessories, the fact that he holds everything, the fact that he's so posable and he looks incredible. this is a really cool figure. There are some areas of concern. The shininess of his shirt versus his shoulders is a little awkward. It makes his shirt look like it's either like super glossy or like wet, and it just doesn't match the shoulders, which is kind of an iffy thing for me. I'm not quite a big fan of how shiny that shirt seems to be. But I'm also really happy in return that they've added holes on both the rifle and the pistol that allows for blast effects. I think that's an incredible thing to have. I think that's an awesome extra like feature and nod to what we can do with these G.I. Joes if you have those blast features. There's some issues with the articulation with the ankles. I feel like the way the spats are molded and everything, it does cut down on the amount of movement that his feet have. But all in all, he's still a very nice posable figure, and I think would work well with the stand. He does feel a little heavy on the back whenever he has the backpack on. Then you take it off, he feels too heavy on the front. So he does have a few balancing issues, but he does look good out on display. The belt is one of the things that I was kind of concerned about. With it flipping up and down quite often, it has kind of driven me crazy when I thought I pulled it down and then it's not centered or it's not exactly where it needs to be. It does float a little bit, and that's one thing that you're going to have to keep in mind with this figure. If you're playing with it, be prepared to know that that belt's going to float around and not be exactly where you want it. If you're doing pictures or something or displaying it, once you set it, it should be fine. All in all, I think this figure is amazing. It is a really cool piece to have in the collection, and it's definitely one that as soon as I knew that he was out and available after I'd gotten Outback, I decided Recondo really did need to be along with his buddy there, so that way they could survive together, be in the bush, and kill some Cobra, which is what we want them all to do. Now that's all I got to say about Recondo, or the Tiger Force Recondo from G.I.Joe Classified. Remember, they're not dolls. In this case, they're action figures. Action figures with incredible mustaches.
When I'm not recording videos here on YouTube, I'm actually over on a podcast on marvindogmedia.com called Talking Toys with Taylor and Jeff. It's a really cool toy podcast. Be sure to check it out. Also, I need your help getting my YouTube channel to grow. Be sure to subscribe down below with that big red button. Hit that bell for notifications so you can be alerted of anything that comes from me to you. Like this video, it helps YouTube know that you like what I'm making, and comment down below. I like chatting with you all.